Do you live outside the United States but have somehow heard of a town called Bend, Oregon and are curious? If so, you are not alone. As a former international teacher who has lived in 6 different countries, I started hearing about Bend, Oregon from different people in different countries at least 10 years before we ever visited here. In this video, I'll take you through the personal journey of how my family and I decided to come to Bend and make it our forever home. If you're new to this channel, thank you for hopping on and welcome. My name is Lindsay Lyon and I'm a local real estate agent right here in Bend, Oregon with EXP Realty. I specialize in helping families just like you relocate from all over the world. Please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button and reach out with any questions or ideas for videos you'd like to see on this channel. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about my background. Before real estate, my husband and I were international teachers. We taught in Venezuela, Thailand, China, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Peru. We loved being expats and working overseas. In the summers or just during the year, our families would say, "When are you going to settle down? When are you going to come home?" And we would just laugh. We had our babies overseas, we carted them around with us, and that was our life. We loved it. But we did eventually start to wonder, what would it be like to have a home in the US and be a little bit more permanent? But we didn't know where. Our families lived in Arizona, in Kansas, in Oklahoma. I'm originally from Texas. We vacationed in Colorado in the beautiful resort town of Breckenridge, but didn't necessarily see that as a place where we could live long term. So why Bend? Some of you may remember 2020 as being a bit of a disruptive year. It was for us too. We left Indonesia towards the beginning of that year, and we're still unsure where in the United States we wanted to live. A friend of mine said, "You should come visit Bend." So we were able to get an Airbnb on Elgin Street during the month of May and had a month of amazing adventures. It was beautiful weather during that time, and the city itself reminded us a lot of beautiful Breckenridge, which we felt familiar with. Our Airbnb on Elgin Street was right off 14th Street, which was a perfect location for riding bikes around town and exploring downtown. We had our dog with us and saw that Bend is extremely dog friendly. That was fun. We explored a little bit of Phil's Trail and the pump track. We fell in love with the Deschutes River and saw lots of different parts of it, including in Sun River at Bentham Falls, which has some beautiful trails. We were able to go to Smith Rock and do some rock climbing. We saw river otters and also took a hike around Smith Rock in that beautiful place. May is a little cold, but we still hopped in the river and floated the river, which is a classic Bend activity. A special treat was when we went to the Three Sisters Wilderness and stayed in a yurt and did some snowshoeing and saw the Cascades with snow, which in May, there still is snow. We ended our trip seeing the Mackenzie River, another river, and the beautiful, famous Blue Pool. One of the most obvious reasons why people decide to make Bend, Oregon their home is the natural beauty. Living overseas, we often had to travel to get to some of the most beautiful places in the country. It was worth it, don't get me wrong. We saw some of the most beautiful beaches in the world and cultural landmarks in our countries, but it wasn't our everyday life. In Bend, the natural beauty is your everyday life. I still get my breath taken away from me driving down the street and seeing snow-capped mountains. Besides the beautiful Deschutes River, we also have the Cascade Lakes during the summer, and then of course in the winter, Mount Bachelor is snow mecca for skiers and snowboarders, and it's only about 25-30 minutes from the town. My husband and I used to say when we live overseas that we wanted a life that we didn't need to take a vacation from. That's Bend. Another draw to Bend is how at home we felt in neighborhoods. It felt very similar to compounds we lived on in Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. These compounds were often walled with guards, but they were very safe for kids to ride their bikes to different places, to the swimming pool, to a store, and we never had to worry about them. In Bend, our neighborhood feels that way, and there are a lot of neighborhoods where you will see kids out riding their bikes. They might go to the river, they might go to Old Mill, they might go to a shop, but there are bike pathways, and there are plenty of opportunities for kids to find their freedom and roam around. As an expat, I didn't really know that existed in the United States, but was very grateful to find it here. When we lived overseas and were researching other countries we might move to, at the top of our list was safety. We wanted to go to a place that we knew our kids would be safe and that we would feel safe. Bend is that kind of town. It feels very safe. You will see kids out and about, and it's also a small town, so people know each other. You can call on your friends to find out where the kids are. For that reason, Bend is highly sought after for its safety. Not everything about living in Bend is easy. Getting out, especially if you want to travel overseas, is tricky. We do actually have an airport in Redmond, which is about 30 minutes from Bend, but you're not going to find many direct flights. Of course, you don't necessarily need to travel, especially if you're looking for natural beauty, but as a traveler, it is something to consider. It's something we're actually still figuring out how to do. A lot of people will go to Hawaii, Cabo. There are some places that is easier to get to. Canada, not too far and beautiful, but it's not like living in Shanghai or Hong Kong, where you can get to so many different countries in a short amount of time. Thankfully, there are many people in Bend who do travel, and there's lots of stories. As a former expat, I've moved a lot. I know how hard transitions can be. I would love to be a resource for you if you're considering moving to Bend or if you have any questions.